There is something strange happening on this block of 42nd Street. Four buildings, all landmarks, all famous, but they're saying completely different things. Buried in these contradictions is a story that hides in plain sight. A story about what New York valued at that moment in time: beauty, ego, speed, and survival. Let me show you. We start here, year 1913, and New York throws itself a party in the form of a building, the Grand Central Terminal. But this beauty was built on top of a tragedy. You see, back in early 1900s, trains ran at the street level down Park Avenue. It was loud, dangerous, and the air was thick with smoke. And on January 8, 1902, one of those trains came crashing down the Park Avenue tunnel because the engineer couldn't see through the smoke. 15 people died. This disaster demanded a radical change. The city said, bury the tracks, electrify the system, and while you're at it, build a palace. They chose the Beaux Arts style for a reason. In the early 1900s, the United States was still an emerging power, and New York, its ambitious gateway. And they had something to prove, especially to Europe. So they took the most utilitarian thing you can build, a train station, and turned it into a monument that could rival the greatest monuments of the old world. They wanted to outroam Rome. I mean, look up at that facade. Massive columns, arched windows, and sculptures representing Mercury, Hercules, and Minerva. This isn't just a train station, it's a triumphal arch, the kind emperors built when they conquered civilizations. And that is exactly what they wanted you to think about train stations back then. Not commuting, not schedules, but conquering distance itself. They wanted you to feel like you're entering an empire. But here's the most interesting bit of the story and the real genius. When they buried the infrastructure, they realized that they've created this brand new street level real estate. So they naturally asked the question, can we sell that? Turns out, yes, you can. They called it air rights, the right to own the air above a piece of land. This is what gave rise to the entire Park Avenue we know today. The whole neighborhood built using these air rights. The Vanderbilt family, who owned the original railroad, made money literally out of thin air. This terminal didn't just transform transportation, it transformed New York real estate forever. Well, if New York was going to feel like an empire, it needed a modern crown, a skyscraper that didn't just stand tall, but that represented the sheer unapologetic power of the American corporate. And that brings us to the Chrysler Building. But in 1916, the zoning resolution was passed. The buildings couldn't just go straight up anymore. It was blocking all the sunlight, turning New York streets into dark canyons. So the buildings had to step back as they rose up. And the architect Van Allen, trying to claim the record for the world's tallest building, turned that law into art, giving us this iconic rocket ship silhouette. This building has patterns depicting cars moving across the walls and massive gargoyles shaped like the radiator caps of a Chrysler vehicle spreading their wings at each corner of the building. Because Walter Chrysler wanted his corporate logo up in the clouds. Now here's the interesting story. At the same time, another architect named H. Craig Severance, a former partner of Van Allen, was building the Manhattan Tower on 40 Wall Street. And one of those investors insisted that it be the tallest building in the world. In the initial design, both the buildings had 67 stories and stood at 809 feet tall. But Severance added a copper pyramid and a mast on top to gain 48 feet on Chrysler Building. In response, Van Allen added 10 more floors, an additional arch, and a secret spire built inside the building. The race to the sky was on. There were rumors that the Chrysler Building will have a 60-foot flagpole as well. So Severance just added 5 more floors to it and also added a flagpole to take it to 925 feet. For a moment, it seemed like Severance is going to win this. But on October 23, 1929, in just 90 minutes, a 185 feet, 27-ton metal spire was bolted on top of the Chrysler Building. But the Chrysler Corporation didn't make any announcement about it. After a month, when the news broke and the measurements came in, Severance was in total disbelief. The completed Manhattan Building stood at 927 feet, but the Chrysler Building was at a whopping 1,046 feet, making it the world's tallest, not just the building, with the tallest man-made structure in the world. This is New York at its most individualistic. This was about branding the skyline. This was about ego. It was about saying, my name, Insti, touching heaven. That same year in 1930, on the same street, literally right next to all that chrome and ego, something shifts here. This is the Daily News building, designed by Raymond Hood and John Mead Howells. I mean, if the Chrysler Building is a crown, this is a machine. No decorations, no gargoyles, no eagles, just clean vertical lines. The setbacks are there, the law still requires them. But they're not for decoration, they are not celebrated, they are purely functional. The city just stopped seducing you with imported European fantasies. The building says, I'm here to work. Walk into the lobby, and this is one of the coolest, most underrated spaces in New York nobody is talking about. As soon as you enter, there's a giant 12-foot globe rotating, sunk partially into the floor. Around it, a dome of black glass. Embedded in the walls are panels showing weather patterns, time zones, and distances to major cities. The globe isn't just art, it's a statement. We know everything happening everywhere faster than you do. The Daily News was the largest circulation newspaper back in 1930, with over 5 million readers. And Raymond Hood understood something. The building should represent what it does and not hide behind decoration. It's honest, it's brutally honest, and it's beautiful because it's honest. There's also something else happening here. The Chrysler Building was about one man's ego, but this is about the collective, the newspaper, about the readers and the stories being printed 24 hours under the basement presses. This is the beginning of a shift. It's saying we don't need to dazzle you anymore. Speed is the new beauty. Information is the new power. Function over flash. And New York is getting serious. Let's jump forward 80 years. One Bryant Park, the Bank of America Tower, completed in 2010, designed by Cook Fox Architects. This is the 9th tallest skyscraper in New York and the 11th in the United States. This is the first building in North America to get the LEED Platinum certification. That's the Green Building Olympics. Now, LEED Platinum might sound like a participation trophy for buildings that recycle, but this one is wild because underneath this tower is a giant power plant, an ice-making factory, a water recycling system, and a state-of-the-art air circulation system, all hidden from plain view. Everything impressive about this building is invisible, and let me break it down for you. First, there's a 4.6 megawatt cogeneration power plant in the basement of this building. It produces 65% of this building's electricity. This is partially off the grid. Second, there's an ice storage system. So during the night, when the electricity is cheap because the demand is low, it makes giant blocks of ice, and this ice is used to help cool the building during the day. Third is the rainwater harvesting system. So it collects all the rainwater that falls on its roof, processes it, and then uses it for non-portable purposes like flushing the toilet and supplying the cooling towers. Fourth, underfloor air distribution. So instead of blasting air conditioning from above, they pump cool air through vents in the floor. It rises naturally, mixes better, and is more energy efficient. Sounds simple, right? But almost nobody does it because it's too expensive to install. And that glass curtain wall, that's not just for pure aesthetic. That's low iron glass, ultra clear, engineered to maximize daylight while minimizing the heat gain. Every panel is optimized for a specific portion in the building. The north-facing glass is different than the south-facing glass. The beauty is in the spreadsheet, the glory in the carbon offset. This is New York admitting we're done performing. The spire isn't the point anymore. Survival is. Responsibility is. We can't just be spectacular. We have to be sustainable too. We can't just reach for the sky. We have to make sure there's a sky left to reach out for. The age of ego is over. The age of consequence has begun. In just one block, we witnessed the city go from showing off to hiding its superpowers, from spectacle to stealth, from look at me to look at my carbon offset. That's not just architecture changing, that's values changing. That's society deciding what matters. But here's the uncomfortable question. Is that progress? Or did we lose something when the buildings stopped trying to make us feel anything just by looking at them? I don't know the answer, but I know this, that these four buildings are arguing about it, and we are in the middle of that argument. This city is confessing. Are you listening?